Welcome to Uplift, inspiring stories to uplift the world. I am Gemma Serenity, your host, and today we have the honor of having Teresa Ramirez joining us. Teresa Ramirez is a motivational speaker, kindness ambassador for loving parents who want to raise kind children. Today's parents can see how some troubled teens are turning to devastating acts of violence because they see no other way. Consequently, parents want to make sure they are doing everything in their power to raise healthy, happy, and kind children. Through her divinely inspired video messages, blog posts, and fun with bubbles style, she is here to encourage parents to be the CEO of their families, cultivating an atmosphere of fun, happy moments with their children through acts of kindness. When she is not uplifting parents, you can find her volunteering at the Home for Life, enjoying time with her sons, delighting in her pets, hiking, and kayaking. Teresa, thank you so much for joining us today. How cool.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
That's beautiful. So, Teresa, let us know, how did you start Journey in Kindness?
Journey in Kindness started with a school shooting. And I truly feel that I was divinely led to do something to let kids know that they can make a difference and they just need to change the way they interact with each other. And so I did speak to a few schools, and then COVID hit. And everybody and their brother went out onto social media. And I was appalled at what I found on social media and how nasty the adults were being to each other. And I don't care what anybody says, your children see your posts. So I thought, maybe I need to switch gears and change my journey in kindness to speak to parents and empower parents to be the CEOs, to be the example they want their children to see. And so that's how I've kind of switched my gears on my journey. And now I'm encouraging parents to be CEOs. And there is a process and it is a journey. And you have to be patient with yourself as you go through the process. But once you get there, it is making kindness as natural as breathing. And it becomes an obsession. I'm actually come obsessed with performing acts of kindness. I said, I was laughing. I was running into the grocery store and there was a cart in a vacant space and I could not walk by that cart. I had to move it and take it with me. I took it with me all the way to the door, but that's just, you can't bypass an opportunity to be kind. That's what happens. And it's a beautiful thing. And we can change the world.
That's
One little
beautiful.
corner at a time.
Exactly. And when you think about that, a smile or a random act of kindness does not cost anything.
Not a
But
thing.
God, it really brings so much joy and feeling seen and heard and feeling valued for the other person and for yourself when you do that too. I mean, it just creates, it stirs a goodness in people.
Yes, it does. It
Mm.
does. It does. And um, one of the things about kindness, and a lot of people say this, well, that's really all nice, fine, good, well, it's all fluffy stuff. Of course, it's going to feel good, but it doesn't really change anything. Well, that's not true. There are studies out there that if you and I exchange an act of kindness, our serotonin levels go up. And serotonin are our happy hormones. So you've got two happy people in the world. But the fascinating thing to me is anyone observing that act of kindness, their serotonin levels also go up. So we've created a ripple of happy people. And if everyone is creating those little ripples in your corner of the world, then my dream would be that those ripples actually combine, merge together, and create a wave of kindness to wash across this country. It can happen.
That's fantastic. It is fantastic.
Thank you.
And this is true. It is absolutely true. So let's brainstorm together. What are 10 random act of kindness we can do today to simply uplift the world, make it
You
a
know,
better place?
and it's so easy. And you can start at home by leaving your spouse or your children little sticky notes on their mirrors that say, "You're awesome. You rock. I hope you have an awesome day." You start at home, and you're sending the people you love out the door with a kind message, and they're happy walking out that door, and that's going to start their day on a great note. Then we can also go back to basics, because I'm shocked to see how many people forgot basics, please and thank you. Um, so yeah, so encourage the please and thank you, the opening the doors. This is all easy peasy stuff you can do just throughout your day. Like the grocery cart. First of all, don't leave it in the space to begin with. But if you see one, take it up to the door with you. That doesn't even take you any time. You're going up to the store anyway. Um, those are just easy things. And then there's things like that I have witnessed. One of my favorites is the produce bag story. I tell it all the time, but it's a great story. I was walking through the grocery store and I passed the produce department, and anyone with children, we've been there. You've got the crying toddler in the cart. You're just thinking, I have 5 minutes to get this done. And you're trying to open the produce bag. And it's aggravating when you don't have a crying toddler in the chair, in the cart. And a gentleman came up to her, took the bag from her hand and opened it. That woman's face went from just, my day is going bad, to just decreased her frustration. He could have handed her a bar of gold and it wouldn't have done as much for her as just a simple act of opening a produce bag. And then I think he said something to the child, and the child was startled and quit crying. I mean, that didn't take seconds. It took seconds. It didn't cost anything. And it made all the difference to that frazzled mom. And, us moms, we've all been there. So that, again, simple. And remember, your children are watching. Your children are watching. Another act of kindness. And again, when you're out to eat, your children are sitting there watching. So be aware of how you're treating servers. And we had a server who was having a really bad day, and she was rude. She truly was. And we were tempted to reduce her tip, and we were tempted to be rude back, but we weren't. And we tipped her the classic 20%. And then I get these notes from people at Christmas. And this one is Shine. And you open it up, and I love it because it's like opening a present. And this one says, realize how good you really are. Well, I put this in with her tip. And then we get up, we're leaving. She chases us out the door and tells me how much that little silly note meant to her, changed her whole day. And again, your children are watching you do that. That's just being a good CEO. So those are just some easy peasy examples. And maybe, the server and the produce bag are a step up, but it's stuff you run into every day. So it's easy, and it didn't cost anything. None of those did.
These ideas are just gold, pure gold.
Yes.
And it doesn't cost anything.
No.
It's just, and you know what it costs? It costs to feel better and to feel good for yourself. This is what it costs. Do you want that? Yeah, sure. Okay, such a great idea, right?
Well, and I've got one more story, a quick story that I think would be great for families and friends. Let's see, the little boy was 6 and his daughter was 4. And he and his wife really are great, fabulous CEOs of kindness. They set their values, and they are prime examples, and they share it with their kids every day. It's just, for them, kindness is as natural as breathing. And their 6-year-old son said, Oh, Mr. Jones, 2 doors down, he broke his leg, but look at all the leaves in his yard. It looks bad. We should do something. 6 years old. 6 years old. And of course, his 4-year-old sister's like, yeah, Dad, we need to do something. So the family goes down. Now, Mom was ready to give birth to their 4th child. So she didn't go, but she had hot chocolate and everything waiting for them when they got done. But the 3 of them went down and cleaned up Mr. Jones' yard. And Mr. Jones made his day. But we're talking a 4 and a 6-year-old came to their dad and said, we want to help him. That's what being the CEO of your family, making kindness as natural as breathing, that's what it instills, that your 4 and 6-year-old are telling you, hey, we've got an opportunity. Let's do it. That's your goal. That's your goal. And I'm trying, and I don't want to, and I don't want to stop and say, I don't want to freak parents out or say, oh my gosh, my plate's already so full, now you're adding to it. This is all day-to-day stuff. Day-to-day stuff.
One of the amazing stories I learned from my beloved third, last, and dream husband, Sasha. He's someone who is indefinitely kind and loving. He's the best person I know. And shortly after we started our relationship and we started to go out together and really like mingle with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And we entered a parking lot where there was a parking attendant. The lady, she was just doing her job. She has to just give a ticket and be paid in return whatever the ticket is worth. And she has her name tag on her because we all have to, when we work in that kind of environment, at least know who that is, you know? But do you think that people usually like read her name and recognize her? No. I mean, she's like an automated teller.
She's an invisible
Exactly.
people, as I call them.
Exactly. But she's doing her job. That's her job. And she's happy to have a job and whatever. My husband just looks at her next time and say, thank you, Vanessa. Have an amazing day. Her eyes opened up like, what? Who is that? Do we know each other? No, we don't. How is it that you are so kind? Yes. Well, I cannot be different anyway, so sure. And then we started to talk. And my husband has an absolutely amazing story. And by the way, he is the creator of this show. That show is his brainchild. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And he told her his miraculous story. My husband was born highly disabled with spina bifida. According to the medical community, he should have never lived past the age of 7, should have paralyzed from the waist down, and his brain should have rendered him mentally challenged. So he wouldn't be alive and thriving according to the way he was born with his disability. He still has his disability, but he's 45 years old, happy, thriving, kind, loving, helping, and he did everything the medical community told him cannot be done. He even wrote a book about that, and he just answered back to this Vanessa, his short story. This is a super short version that I just shared with you. And she was there, and you wrote a book. Yes. And she said, I want the book. And we had a book in the trunk, and he said, hold on. And he picked up a book, signed it for her, and gave it to her. She felt over the moon, the happiest girl on earth. She felt valued, seen, amazed. And what was that? Kindness.
Yeah.
Kindness.
It's amazing. And it's also kind of sad that she was so shocked that he used her name and said hi. And as I said, it's also kind of a little sad, but again, it's that little ripple. It doesn't take much.
Exactly. I can tell you one thing. She will always remember him and his story and his book and that man who said, "Hello, Vanessa." Look at
That's crazy.
yeah, that's amazing. We can do the same at the grocery store. Look at the name tag and saying,
Yes.
"Thank you." And
And
just
ask
that.
them how their day is going.
That's true.
Yes. Okay. They always ask, did you find everything you needed or something like that? And I'm like, yes. How are you doing today? You know, they might stumble on words
Yes,
again, but yeah, just little stuff, little stuff.
exactly. And it's true. Children are watching,
Hmm.
absorbing, imitating, learning. It is
Yeah,
true.
it is true. And when you're the CEO, you do have to take a stop and decide what your values are, what you want to
Mm-hmm.
instill in your children, what
Mm-hmm.
philosophy you want to bring down. And then, I'm the queen of sticky notes. Put them everywhere to remind yourself, because this is a process. The journey in kindness is a true journey. It is a process. So the sticky notes remind you, worry stones, whatever you need to remind you to say, hey, look up from the old phone and take a look at what's going on around you and look for opportunities to be kind. Again, doesn't cost anything, doesn't take but a few seconds most of the time. And there are things, if you chose, that would cost something like, everybody, the proverbial buy the person's coffee line behind you. And someone else mentioned this, and I love this idea, is the person behind you can afford that cup of coffee. They can afford that fast food lunch 9 times out of 10. So instead of doing that, why don't you take that money, that $5 or whatever it was you were going to pay for the coffee, and pay off a child's lunch account, an overdue lunch account at the local school. Give them a call and say, hey, I want to pay off somebody's lunch account. You were spending money anyway on someone, which is kind if you still want to pay for the coffee behind you, but let's take it another step up and pay off an overdue lunch account. Another idea.
It's a
They
great
come out
idea.
of the woodwork when I get going. But we have to go back to, yes, you have to decide what you want to instill in your child, and then be the example. Do it out on stage.
Exactly.
And I know that, I have a process, just because we have a tendency, if somebody's yelling at us or whatever, to react back. And the first thing you have to do is practice that pause. Practice your pause. Again, worry stone, sticky notes, whatever, so you don't lash back. Let them finish. Know in your head, because you've paused, no, 9 times out of 10, it's not about you. It's about something that happened. And then look at the person and say, how can I help? Start there. Change your perception of the situation. And it starts with that pause, but then you can change your perception because you've taken that breath, that deep breath, stepped back, let them finish, and then find out what's really going on and if you can help. Then, another step is, once you've done that, whatever you're going to say, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If it doesn't meet all 3 criteria, don't say it. Don't post it. Your children are listening. Your children are watching. So this is what you do. And a lot of times what you say might be true, but is it really kind and necessary? No. So you just don't say it. So what your words mean something. So keep that in the back of your mind. Another thing is compliments. If you can't calm someone down, just start saying, I love that outfit you're wearing today. You're right. You probably could have handled that situation 10 times better than I did. You are great at that. And keep going as long as you can, until that person can't say anything. If you're spewing compliments at someone, they just can't. they shut down that nasty side of them or whatever's causing them to come off aggressive and that anger, and it just filters. So just remember that what comes across our tongues, our words, are creating the life that we want or don't want. You have to keep that in mind. And that is all of this, that all these examples I'm giving you is helping you make that decision. What kind of life do you want to create for you and your family? Do you want the nasty, angry life, or do you want the happy, peaceful, kind, compassionate life? And then make that decision. And I can't imagine, I think everybody would want the happy, peaceful, compassionate life, and then follow the steps to get there. It takes practice, so be patient with yourself. But if you keep at it, keep working at it. I know road rage is huge. That is, whenever I speak to anyone, they say road rage is huge. And I was in love with my car horn. I loved it. And so I put a big sticky note that said stop on my horn. So if any time I had that urge to, the sticky note's there, then you just don't. So now it's gone now because I no longer have that urge to hit the sticky note. In a road rage situation, you have to remember 9 times out of 10, they don't even know they cut you off. They could be in a hurry. My mom's in the hospital. I have to go. My kid was hit by a car. I got to go. You don't know what the other person is going through. So again, starts with the pause, changing your perception, then change the way you react.
This is gold. All these ideas that you are sharing to make the world a better place, which is the entire goal of all of that. Everything is totally so important. Doesn't cost a thing and just makes the world a better place.
It does. And another great thing that helps get you in the right mind is you can do it at the beginning of the day, the end of the day. Sit down with your family and start saying, okay, 5 things you're grateful for. And when you sit down and think what you're grateful for, I'm grateful I have a roof over my head, the heat works, the air conditioning works, whatever, I have hot running water, clean sheets, whatever it might be, you start to feel good. And that sets the tone for how your well-being is. And it's going to make that pause go real fast. And then the other steps, of course, fall in. And on the other hand, if you're gossiping, if you're constantly, as a parent, talking about other people, your kids are listening, guess what they're going to start to do?
Exactly.
They're going to talk about the kids in their class, and not in a flattering way. So if you don't gossip, your kids won't gossip. So again, they emulate you. They start at a young age, and be that CEO, define your values, and show your children how to be.
That is essential. Teresa, you rock. You truly rock. I'm so happy and grateful that you are the one kicking off Uplift.
Well, thank you. I am so honored to have that position. I am thoroughly honored. If you want me to keep going, I have a couple other tips.
Go for it. That's the bonus.
Another way to do this is with humor. Now, I am not naturally funny, but if you can rip off one-liners, do it. I know I have walked in on my kids and they're, just going at it. And one of my favorite lines was, well, it looks like the devil's winning today. And they would just, because that's just not, I'm not naturally funny. So when I say something, they're like, what devil? Where? Like, look at you two. But it made them stop, and then we could talk about the situation, whatever that is. Another one I have done and used is my clown nose. I can't be funny naturally, so I use props. But the clown nose makes everybody stop, and then everybody's laughing because they can't believe you're doing this because you're silly. But this is great, and you can use it in any situation. I do carry it in my purse and I carry it in the car. I have used it at road rage. Unfortunately, I said it did startle the person that was, yelling and screaming. But he also almost wrecked the car. So I have to be careful. Be careful how you do this on road rage. Another great one with road rage is to wave, like that. Hey, how you doing? And they're like, oh, and they go off, and everything calms down. So that's using humor. And if you're a naturally funny person, it's going to come naturally to you to use that to de-escalate situations. So yeah, that's all good.
I love this clown nose.
I know. It's the best.
That's so
It is
cool.
the best. Everybody likes the clown nose.
That's super
and yes,
cool.
I do put that on. People think that's because I don't do those. I'm not that silly, but I use it. It works. It is a great tool. And if you can come up with another tool that's fun, go ahead and that's the other thing when you're working through these processes, have fun with it. Have fun with the kids. When the kids went and cleaned up Mr. Jones's yard, they had a ball, and then mom was home. They were done. There's hot chocolate. We're just having great family moments. And that's, in the end, if you're all happy, you're going to take that out into the world. And that's what's going to make the difference. So just have fun with everything. And the last point I have is, sometimes just don't engage. There are topics that trigger people, and you know what they are, especially spouses. Spouses know what triggers the other person, or best friends. But think politics, pro-choice, pro-life, those are triggers. So if you don't know who you're talking to, or sometimes if you do and you know it's a trigger, don't go there. Just do not discuss it. There's no why provoke an argument? I have always said, if you do not have to attend every argument you are invited to, as the same token, you do not have to invite others to an argument. So that's huge. That's huge. If you sometimes, somebody's just going out the deep end, don't engage. Just don't. They want to argue. They want to start an argument for whatever reason. Just don't engage. Don't provoke them, and don't let them provoke you. And sometimes at the end of the day, you just have to walk away. Because there's just no, I won't say there's no winning, but sometimes with people, there is no de-escalating, and you just have to say, excuse me, and you walk away.
That's it.
Yes. And, even with your kids, if they're just going out, go sit in your room for a few minutes. When you're done, come out and we'll talk about it. Sometimes that works. Sometimes that don't with children. But anyway, it's just a lot better in many circumstances, to just walk away. And then when everything is calmed down, then you can talk about it more rationally.
Thank you so much for sharing those.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Absolutely amazing ideas of how to spread kindness, random acts of kindness.
Yeah. And keep in mind also, especially a lot of times, it is human nature to just want to go back and want to impress upon your point. But at the end of the day, again, when we look at things, is it more important to be right, or is it more important to be kind? Is it more important to win that argument? Is it more important to just be the bigger person and be kind?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the ways we have learned, absolutely. One of the ways I have learned with my beloved husband to de-escalate any kind of argument that can just show up is to take a breath and to ask each other, does that really matter? Can we agree to disagree?
Mm-hmm.
Do we really have to find one right and one wrong? How about we both are right from a different perspective?
Yes. Or, you
That's
know,
will
or
that still matter tomorrow?
right. And you know, that's great with spouses, but if you're with other people, you can say things like, well, you know, that's a really interesting point, and leave it.
Done.
Or, you know, I'll take that under advisement. I'll take that under advisement, and then just let it go. And it's, again, this takes practice. It's not,
It does.
these things, especially when you're in a heated discussion, aren't always as easy as I'm making them sound. But if you're practicing the other minor steps of being kind, that pause is going to come quicker, and this will be an easier act.
Hmm. And there is something that happens when you pause.
Mm-hmm.
Your entire brain that was hijacked by the necessary reaction because it was so wrong and so contrary to your belief is suddenly coming back to its senses. You take a breath that reoxygenates your brain, and now that you are not in reaction mode anymore, your brain can go back to its natural kindness. Naturally, we are all kind.
Mm-hmm.
Spontaneously, at the base of us all, we're all kind and loving. How we deal and what meaning we give to new events, new people, new situations, that is totally up to us. But naturally, we all are kind and loving. So coming
Absolutely.
back to that,
Yes, absolutely.
wow, that's amazing. Alrighty, Teresa, you have been absolutely amazing, fantastic. You gave us so much material to be more kind and be more loving. What is your website or URL or Facebook or anything for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, they can reach out to me at my Facebook group, Journey in Kindness with Teresa Ramirez.
Oh, okay,
Is
good.
the best, is cleanest way.
That's great. So what I'm going to do is to put that in the description of this show. And if and when later on you are coming up with other links or more precise links or websites or anything else, let me know and we update the description
Oh, okay, great. Absolutely.
so that we can stay in touch with you anyway.
Okay.
Even in 10 years from now, because we are kind forever, right?
Goodness, thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. Have an amazing, kind, and loving day.
Thank you so much.